All right. Hey, everybody. It's Lori Herman. Welcome today. I'm here with Jim with Caleb and Brown and talking a little bit. I wanted him to share a little bit about what cryptocurrency is. So, Jim, welcome. How's it going? Where are you today?
I'm well, thanks, Lori. Thanks for having me on the show and looking forward to chatting again today.
Yeah. So where are you at today?
Where am I at in terms of what location? Or
Yes.
I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So it's about 8:30 in the morning here. We're just coming into autumn, so the weather's not as nice as what it has been in summer. But yeah, we're going well here. Our headquarters in Caleb Brown is based here in Melbourne, but we have a presence in the US as well.
Awesome. Well, I wanted you to jump on. You've been so kind into sharing some of your valuable time with me, and I want people to understand a little bit about more what cryptocurrency is. So can you, a lot of people know what, they've heard the term Bitcoin, XRP is all over. You had mentioned that you guys are going to sponsor them at an event coming up in May. Can you share a little bit about maybe Bitcoin or take, even XRP and share a little bit? What is that? So people at home who know nothing about it can understand that they can buy $5, $10, $50 worth of this cryptocurrency, and that maybe you could get thousands for $50, or maybe you can get a fraction of a coin. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. So what I'll do is I'll start with the general idea and premise of cryptocurrencies generally. Because Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, these are all different types of cryptocurrencies, but they all kind of have the same general feel to them. They all do different things, but the best way to think about cryptocurrency, and again, this is quite a simple definition. There's obviously a lot more complexity under the hood, but the best way to think about it is it's a form of digital money, which allows people to transact between one another. So Laura and I could transact between ourselves without requiring a third-party intermediary, so without requiring a bank. Now, Bitcoin, which is the very first crypto that I will explain a little bit about soon, was built off the back of the GFC back in 2008. So you can kind of see where the whole premise of crypto started. It was to do with the banks mismanaging people's funds, the way in which we really had to trust third parties with our own funds. So think of cryptocurrency as a digital version of money that allows people to transact between one another. It's all verifiable on a really large public ledger called the blockchain. So blockchain technology essentially allows us to transact without necessarily knowing each other because it's all validated not by a third-party bank, but by what we call these nodes, which are really computers that are all around the world that are verifying each transaction. So that's its general premise and principle in terms of cryptocurrency. Now, it's how the technology is actually done on the back end is through cryptographic technology. That is a little more complex, but that's really the general idea of crypto, is that it allows people to transact between one another without requiring a third-party intermediary, which, as you can imagine, has a lot of benefits, especially if I'm looking to send money overseas to someone who maybe doesn't have the same banking rails that I have. And then Bitcoin was the very first cryptocurrency. It's viewed as a digital store of value. So people try or believe that it's a digital version of gold. And the reason for that is that there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever created and mined. So people view it as a scarce supply asset. It's the first cryptocurrency, so it has the first mover advantage. And people view it as a really safe haven when it comes to investing in an asset that maybe isn't impacted by inflation. So that's another one of the big things that people look at, maybe the US dollar now, and see how much extra money is being printed. They see that it potentially could become more devalued as time goes on. So a lot of people look to Bitcoin, similar to how people look at gold right now, as a hedge against inflation, a safer asset. Now, at this stage, Bitcoin isn't necessarily at that level of gold because it's still super volatile and the supply is still being mined. But that's the general idea around Bitcoin. And because it's been around the longest and it was the first of its kind, people believe it has the biggest backing, and it's by far the largest asset in this space. But think of cryptocurrency, they're all trying to do different things with different utility. So as Laurie mentioned, Bitcoin was the first back in 2008, 2009. There's now thousands and thousands that are getting created each day. that are all trying to solve different problems within the world. And XRP is one that is focused on cross payment between institutions and banks. So think about how banks would move money from one jurisdiction to another. It is incredibly expensive. It can take a lot of time. So XRP was created by Ripple Labs as a way to ensure that assets could be moved from one jurisdiction to another far more efficiently, far quicker, and far cheaper. But it gets back to the whole idea that each crypto does something completely different. So XRP, if I wanted to move XRP from my wallet to say Laurie's, it'd be a lot quicker than say if I was to do it with Bitcoin. Bitcoin naturally takes a lot longer and a bit more expensive to do that. So every crypto has its own utility, and it's really important as an investor that you don't get lost in the noise, because there is thousands of assets, but really having a strong understanding of, okay, what am I going to invest in and what utility does this crypto have is really valuable.
Well, and so people talk about cryptocurrency and they don't understand what coins are. And so all of these coins that are out there, they have a white paper that people can go and read, right? So the white paper, do you want to share a little bit about that so that people understand that there's something behind these coins for the most part, right? If there's not, then like there's other things, and I don't want to screw people up, and I want to keep this to just the basics, but there's the meme coins that there's not really, it's kind of like
any utility.
Is it kind of like a baseball card, right? Like people collect baseball cards, maybe they would collect meme coins, but I don't want to get sidetracked here with all of that. But
yeah, I think meme coins are a completely separate thing altogether. What I would say is meme coins have no utility. So there's no real underlying value in what they're doing. It's really, the best way to describe it is people buy because they feel part of a community. And honestly, at the end of the day, they're speculating on this asset increasing in value. But if you look at the underlying, I guess, purpose or business operations or anything of that nature, these meme coins really aren't doing anything. It's not like you're buying into a business that has legitimate cash flows coming in. So what I would say is that, and we'll touch on to the more legitimate assets in a second, but meme coins is highly speculative. It's super volatile, and the chances that you're going to lose a large portion of the value that you invest in is probably a high likelihood. So what I would say is it's an incredibly risky game, and most people lose a lot of value investing in meme coins. It's not like it's a value investment that is based on utility or anything that the project is actually doing. So I'd be incredibly, if you're new to this space, I would just steer clear of meme coins in general. When it comes to Bitcoin, when it comes to Ethereum, these legitimate assets that have genuine operation behind them and have a genuine use case, you're exactly right that most of them will have a white paper. And so the Bitcoin white paper is maybe 15 pages long. And what these white papers do is essentially detail out the technology, they detail out the purpose for the asset. It's very much what I would say is like a kind of like a tutorial or a user manual on what the asset is actually hoping to provide to the space. There is sometimes quite a bit of technology and the actual cryptographic nature of how these operate in these pages as well. I usually skip over those because they're way too technical for me. But they're really a great way to learn about, okay, what were they thinking when they built this asset? And when you actually start to read more and more of them, you start to see a general pattern in the value that they're providing to the community. So if you're someone that's new to the space, I would highly recommend reading the Bitcoin white paper. It's the first of its kind. It's just very interesting as well to read the thinking that went into it. But you're exactly right. There's the Ethereum white paper, there's a Solana white paper. So all the top assets have a white paper, which I would say is the best place to start. And then another thing that we spoke about before is that all of these assets will have different value based on their supply, based on their current price, which ultimately impacts their market cap. But you're exactly right in the sense that, Bitcoin today is, I think it's at 85K right now, US dollars. That does not mean you need to buy one Bitcoin worth of $85,000. You can buy proportions of any asset, right?
My brother did not.
$100 of Bitcoin.
Yeah, my brother, I was in crypto for like 3 years, and he didn't understand why I wasn't selling my Bitcoin when it was at, I think it was at 65 or something. So it was last year. And I'm like, have you not been listening to anything I've been telling you for the last 3 years that you can just buy a fraction of one? So that's what I wanted people to know. So you basically have Bitcoin, you have the altcoins, shit coins, and then the meme coins that people.
Yeah. A lot of people will say Bitcoin is just Bitcoin, and then every other coin is an altcoin. It really depends on who you talk to and what their
Yep.
definition is. But I
Yep.
would say that there's a big difference between probably say the top 10 to 15 crypto assets and then the rest, right?
Well, and
It's
and I don't want to interrupt you, but I always tell people when they're getting in, like, look at the top 10, maybe look at the top 100, talk to your friends, see who's got what. And I mean friends, like your real friend, not like somebody who's just some random person, not your Uber driver.
yeah.
I mean,
Or
every
someone that
once in a
calls you out of the
while.
blue about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's the thing, is like, we're not here selling cryptocurrency, you guys. This is an education. I want people to realize it's just like these things I'm doing, it's for people to get educated and to understand what a coin is, because they don't understand it. And I remember like doing my first few cryptocurrency events in 2021. And people, I was like, there's gold. It's like standing there back in the gold rush days. And it's like, there's gold in that mountain. And you're trying to tell somebody down at the bar, like, what are those guys doing? Like scratching their head and like, what? And so that's why I wanted to do something today where people just would learn a little bit and an intro to what coins are, because you don't have to know all about them. You don't have to know about all the coins. I always tell people to get started, go buy something and look back in 90 days and see if you enjoy doing it, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the stat is now there's 30,000 coins that are getting created each day, right? So for people that are new to crypto, back in the day, there was a lot less getting created because there was a lot more friction to actually create these currencies. These days, it's so simple to create a coin. You and I could create one within 5 minutes, which means there's a lot more noise, which means there's a lot more assets out there. So it's really valuable to concentrate your attention and time to, I would say, the majors, the ones that have been around a long time, have a clear use case, maybe have a product market fit. And you're exactly right. I think it's worth getting involved, maybe investing a small amount initially, learning more about the space. I feel like with a lot of our clients as well, once they've got skin in the game, they're super interested. They want to learn more about the asset. They keep up with the news.
That's
So
what
you'll
I
naturally just find yourself learning more about it. And
yeah.
then you'll get more comfortable about it. You'll understand more about the security and custody side of assets. Again, that's something that at Caleb Brown we can assist with, because that is something that a lot of new investors need to get. I would say that's probably the number one thing that if you are going to start, you need to be aware that from day one,
Yeah.
because that there is a lot of bad actors in this space that will try and contact you and say that they're helping you, but essentially they're trying to scam you and steal your assets. So I'd say that is probably the number one thing to be aware of from day one.
Yeah.
But certainly invest, get an understanding of what you're investing in, and you'll start to learn more and more about the space.
Well, and that's, you know, my brother lives off the grid in Montana, one of my three brothers, and he had some, I can't remember, what did I have him? Maybe some Ethereum back like 4 years ago or whatever. And he's like, Lori, I heard them talking about Ethereum on the news. I'm like, yeah. Like, but it's not this hidden thing. And I just, people are learning more and more. You hear more and more about cryptocurrency. I mean, it's in our daily lives, right, Jim? It's like we live, sleep, think about all this stuff all the time, because we're interested in it. And this is your, you know, with Caleb and Brown as a broker. So I just want people to realize that you don't have to go and read a whole bunch of books about it and you know, 6 months or 9 months go, oh, I'm going to go and buy some now. It can be super simple. And that's why I wanted to bring, and I added your email address here at the bottom so that people can reach out to you. You've said that you'll talk to people. You can jump on a call with them. Caleb and Brown, I have their link on my website as well as on the description of this video, but I just want people to be aware of it and learn a little bit. Now, you had mentioned on our last call that you're actually, I think, one of sponsor for XRP at the crypto event coming up in May.
Yeah, correct. So XRP Las Vegas, it's the largest XRP event, I think, in the world, to be honest. But yeah, Caleb and Brown will be one of the sponsors there. So I'll be in attendance along with our CCO, Jake Boyle. we hope that we'll see a lot of people maybe on this call that will potentially be going, but we have a lot of our clients that will be attending, a lot of our partners as well. But that's a really great venue to learn more about, not just XRP, but crypto in general. So that's really what we're all about here, Calvin Brown. Yes, we help our clients invest in crypto safely, but we also educate our clients as well. And you're exactly right. It's hard to stay informed day to day on what's happening in crypto. So much is going on. It's even hard for us, and we work in the space 24/7, right? So having that contact, having a broker that you can call whenever you need to get a bit of an update on what's currently happening in the market is really valuable. And that's what we do. And that's what we'll be talking about at XRP Vegas. So I think the dates are the 29th and 30th of May. But yeah, really looking forward to it.
I would have probably gone out and met you guys, but I'm going to be in New York that week. So, but no, is there anything else? Do you know how many countries actually have Bitcoin as their currency? I know El Salvador does, but do you by chance know?
I think it's just El Salvador at this stage. What you'll find is that it'll be a lot more of those third world or developing countries where their local currency has suffered from, say, hyperinflation, has been devalued. El Salvador was very early to making it its legal tender. That's gone pretty positively for them. But what you're starting to see now is off the back of the US is that a lot of countries are now storing or holding crypto, especially Bitcoin, as part of their strategic reserve. So as part of the government balance sheet, more and more countries and even some states now within the US are looking to hold Bitcoin as part of their strategic reserve, which is a really, really huge development and something that definitely wasn't foreseen, I would say, even 6 months ago.
Well, and I think I was watching somebody was talking about the Bank of Montreal. It's like the third largest bank in Canada or something, was holding $150 million worth of Bitcoin. Did you know anything about that? Or like I
didn't hear about that. Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear about anything about that specifically, but certainly I think the US as well is looking into legislation that will allow banks now to custody crypto assets, which I think would be a huge unlock for the industry in general. Banks, I think, have always been quite hesitant when it comes to crypto because, as I mentioned at the start, it's a way in which you and I can transact commerce without requiring them. Whereas in the past, everyone would need a bank, right? So they've been naturally hesitant, but I think even they can view or see the potential of this space moving forward, and they want to hold these assets themselves. So I think we'll start to see more and more regulation that allows them to do that and allows them to custody assets. But there's no surprise that, a bank like the Bank of Montreal is starting to hold crypto assets if they're able to do so, because I think that'll continue to happen as this space matures.
Well, and so I guess has there been anything in the news this week or anything that was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about that happened this week that you want to share with people that you guys have been talking about in the office or anything at all? I mean, again, you guys you're in this 24/7, like literally you guys are open 24/7, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we have a presence around the clock, which is valuable for our clients because we have clients all around the world, right? Different time zones. I wouldn't say, I think the crypto space right now is quite impacted by what's happening at a global macro level and a political level within the US. So I think the biggest thing right now is tariff watch, because it has an impact on the overall economy, which then has a flow-on effect of risk on assets like crypto. So I would say that that's probably the biggest thing that we're focused on.
And I've been hearing that as well
right now.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because it really has nothing to do with the crypto space. What I would say that the largest developments have been that Trump and his administration have confirmed that they're now holding Bitcoin. I think that's probably the largest development within the last month around the crypto czar, David Sachs, creating that executive order, and for that to get passed was quite a monumental time in the crypto space. But again, it was overshadowed by tariff talks, tariff impositions, which have an overall quite a negative impact on the global economy. So while crypto, we like to think of it as separate from a lot of what goes on, it's still very much impacted by what's happening at an economic level and a macro level. So that's probably the biggest news. And I haven't had a chance to look this morning, but Trump's tariffs that have been imposed this morning or today has had probably a big impact on the macro level, but also will have a big impact on crypto as well. So that's probably the biggest thing right now is the macro stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, Jim, and everybody that's tuning in, please reach out to Jim, message me through my website. We're here to try and help people understand and navigate this space a little bit more. It's been around for a long time. It's not going anywhere. And my puppy's eating my green screen.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me on again, Laura. And as you mentioned, anyone can feel free to reach out to my email below. Have a look at Caleb & Brown if you're new to this space. Our brokerage service is literally built for beginners. So we're here to hold your hand throughout the whole crypto investment journey. Feel free to reach out, and thanks for watching.
All right, you guys, I'm going to tune out. I've got this puppy here I'm raising, but I appreciate your time. And Jim, it's always so good to have you and all your information. And I just want people to understand that you can make this stupid simple, and you are there to hold their hand. And that's exactly why I've been working with you guys for 5 years. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Bye.